The first archetype, outside of the stuff that's previously been announced, outside of the like retrains of old Exodia cards and stuff like that, the first archetype revealed from Infinite Forbidden is called Fiendsmith. And we're gonna go through these cards together for the first time because I haven't read them yet. They just got announced, I think, this last night. So let's go through them. And we have the Fiendsmith, literally, like it's just called the Fiendsmith. And it's a level 6 light fiend effect monster. 1800 attack, 2400 defense. You can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. You can discard this card, add a Fiendsmith spell trap from your deck to your hand. You can target a Fiendsmith equip card you control and one monster on the field, send them to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle one other light fiend monster from your graveyard into the deck, extra deck, special summon this card. That's a good card. That's a pretty good card. I mean, just like discard itself to the graveyard for a free add, and then later on it comes back from the graveyard for free, and it even has a bonus effect on the field. That's pretty good. That's a good start. That's a solid monster. Unfortunately, as we're continuing with fusion monsters now, this appears to be the only monster of the archetype so far. Sinister Slot, thank you for the 6 months, and congrats on making top 32. Well done. Yeah, this is pretty good, you know. Discard it, later on it comes back, gets you an effect on the field. Pretty good start. We have Fiendsmith Lacrimosa, a level 6 light fiend fusion, and it just requires 2 light fiend monsters. So this archetype seems to be fusion oriented. 2 light fiend monsters. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, you can target a light fiend monster in your grave or banishment, either add it to your hand or special summon it. Okay. Monsters your opponent controls lose 600 attack. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle one other light fiend monster from your graveyard into the deck or extra deck, inflict 1200 damage to your opponent. All right, so on summon, it gives you extension, makes your opponent's monsters smaller, and it's a, I guess it's a time win condition is what this deck has. All right. Not an insane card considering it's a fusion card, but like not terrible. The problem with this is always like, how does this archetype fusion summon, right? Because nowadays that's always the question, is like, how do you how good is your fusion spell? So we're gonna have to wait and see. If it's just a regular fusion spell, this is not great, but if they have some tricks up, if they have some tricks with the fusion spell, then that's potentially good enough. And then we have another fusion. All right, they got more extra deck monsters than main deck monsters. All right. Fiendsmith DS Irai, I suppose, maybe, I don't know. Level 9 light fiend. It materials one, it takes the Fiendsmith, so this guy up there, as well as 2 light fiends. So this thing needs 3 monsters. You can only use this card's name's first and second effect once per turn each. Quick effect. You can negate the effects of a number of face-up cards on the field until the end of this turn, up to the total link rating of the link monsters equipped to this card as equip cards. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle one other light fiend monster from your grave into the deck or extra deck, then target a card on the field, send it to the graveyard. That is the first effect, depending on, I mean, so far we haven't seen how they equip cards, right? There's nothing here that equips. So I don't know how easy it is to equip link monsters to this thing. This effect is pretty powerful because it says face-up cards. This means you can negate spell cards with it. Like your opponent activates talents, you just like effect negate it, right? As well as it does not target. The way it's worded here, it does not target, you just activate it, and then you can non-targeting negate like spell cards or multiple cards even. Pretty good. However, it does require 3 monsters, and it heavily, I mean, that heavily depends on how good the fusion mechanic for this deck is, right? It really, really depends on how good the fusion mechanic here is, because if I'm just hard summoning this thing with polymerization, then it's not going to be great, right? Obviously, but we'll see. Demon Smith, Fiend Smith Requiem, Link 1, phenomenal, cool, very nice. Love Link 1s, love me that. All right, level 1, Link 1 monster requires 1 Light Fiend monster. You can only special summon Fiend Smith Requiem once per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. During the main phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card, special summon a Fiend Smith from hand or deck. You can target a non-link light fiend monster you control. Equip this card from your field or graveyard to that target as an equip spell that gives it 600 attack. Okay. That is pretty good. But it's also not completely nuts. But it is good because, like, you can turn any light fiend monster essentially into a Lone Fire Blossom for your main deck monster, right? Like for this thing, if you don't draw it, like what I'm assuming so far, this is just my first assumption based on the archetype, you would want to pair this with other light fiend archetypes. You wouldn't want to just play this as its own deck. Like you kind of need like another light fiend based deck, right, to work with. What that's gonna be, people in chat are mentioning Magical Musketeer. People in chat are mentioning Life Twins. Fabled is another has a lot of light fiends. So there are archetypes out there that you could potentially pair with this. And then you can just bridge whatever light fiend deck you're playing. You can bridge it into Fiendsmith, right? By making this. And this also this is gonna guarantee that you have an equip for the big fusion, right? Pretty much, which is pretty nice. Okay. Oh, more Link monsters. Okay, we have Fiendsmith Sequentia. 2 monsters, including a light fiend. You can only use the first and second effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can fusion summon a fiend fusion from your extra deck by shuffling materials mentioned on it from your graveyard into the deck. Okay. You can target a non-link light fiend you control. Equip this card from your field or graveyard to that target as an equip spell. With this effect, your opponent cannot target the monster with card effects. Oh, okay. All right. Now we're talking a little bit. Now we're talking, because this gives us a fusion summon with materials from the graveyard, which is much better than having to use it from hand or field, right? Because we don't actually lose cards. We just like shuffle a couple things back into the deck and then get our fusion monster. And then we can keep... so far, nothing here locks us into anything, right? So we can just like link this off so it is in the graveyard, and then we can equip it to this guy, and then this guy has the ability to negate 2 cards and is untargetable. And when they get rid of it, you can send another card on the field to the graveyard. That's shaping up to be pretty good. You can make Kaleidoheart with the link too? Yes. Technically. But I don't think that those... I don't know if that's what you want to be doing. You can negate 3 total. You can, if you go through both Link monsters and equip both to the fusion monster, you can negate 3 cards. However, I will say this might sound more broken than it actually is, because you have to do that at the same time, right? You have to, like, you activate this effect once, and in that moment, you can negate 3 cards. And, like, for the most part, if your opponent starts playing into this, they can force this before they have 3 valuable things to negate. Like, it's not going to be very often that your opponent just gives you 3 good targets for this. Like, most of the time you're going to negate 1 card with it. If you're lucky, you can negate 2 good targets at the same time, but most of the time it's just going to be negate 1 card. Like, realistically speaking, it's going to negate 1, which is still good. It's good enough, I think, for a boss monster. It's good enough. But I think the fact that you can theoretically negate more cards than 1 is like kind of not that important, because it's not going to happen that much. It's not going to be relevant. All right. Pretty good, honestly, pretty good set of extra deck monsters to start out with. Like that's pretty strong. Like we've got like this guy, which is extension. We've got this guy, which is a good thing to end on. We've got the 2 link monsters, which are really good. The main deck monster was also pretty good. Now we go to the spell cards. Fiendsmith Tractus, normal spell card. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. Add a light fiend monster from your deck to your hand, then discard 1 card. Oh, that's pretty good with Fables. That's like generically good with Fables. You don't even need to play a Fiendsmith deck for that. I don't know if that makes Fabled good or not, but that's pretty good. Fabled Lurie turns this into a free summon. Yeah, there's a lot of Fables that is just a free summon. You can do a level 1 with Lurie. You can do a level 2 tuner with Cerberell. Or no, oh, that's Beast. That's not a Fiend. Ah, they're not all fiends. Right. They're not all fiends. Okay. Still, good card. Second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, fusion summon a Fiendsmith fusion from your extra deck by using monsters from hand or field. Okay, so this is another way you can fusion summon. Another way you can fusion summon, however, this time the fusion spell is pretty much free. But we do have to use our materials from hand or field this time. Okay. This card is very good. This card is very, very good. Not even limited to the Fiendsmith deck. You can play this in whatever deck that has light fiend monsters, I'm pretty sure. Especially if they have good discards. Which there are a couple of decks out there that have good discards, right? That's a pretty good card. That's a really good card to have for the archetype. And then we have Fiendsmith Sanctus, a quick play spell. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. If you control no face-up monsters, or all face-up monsters you control are light fiends, special summon a token, Fiendsmith token, light fiend, level 1. Also, you cannot declare attacks for the rest of this turn except with fiend monsters. If a face-up Fiendsmith monster you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while this card is in your grave, you can set this card. Yeah, it's like a mini Hornet Drones. I think on its own, this card isn't insane, but just the fact that they have a Link 1 monster that gets them started is pretty good. Like, it's just, yeah, this just makes the Link 1 right off the bat. So it's a starter card. It's got recursion. If your opponent ever destroys your stuff with card effects, you can like bring it back. That's all right. It's not crazy. This card means the main deck guy is a free rank 6. You draw this, you discard it to add the Fiendsmith token trap, token spell. You make a token, you make the Link 1, you tribute the Link 1 to summon another level 6 out of the deck, and then you can bring the first one. Yeah, you can bring it from the grave. Yeah, it's a 1 card rank 6. Yeah, it is. No, that's good. That's good. Without normal summon. Yeah, that's good. You're investing... Yeah, you're investing 1 card for it. That's pretty strong. That's pretty good. All right. And Fiendsmith in Paradisum. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. Target a level 7 or higher light fiend monster you control. Send all cards on the field to the graveyard except that monster. If your opponent special summons a monster while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card. Send 1 Fiendsmith monster from deck or extra deck to the graveyard. All right. I'm not sure if I would play this. Maybe as a one-of, searchable. I mean, sending all cards on the field to the graveyard is a crazy effect, but it's a freaking trap card. Like, as well as it's got some anti-synergy, right? Because you would lose all your equips. So you have to like use your negates first. If you can't use the trap first and then use your negates for their follow-up. But it's not a bad card. Let's say it like that. Like for a card that is searchable, I could see it, but like it's all right. But I don't think this one is particularly strong. Okay, I mean, honestly, for a first wave of support, or for a first wave in general, for the first wave for the archetype with just one main deck monster, this is looking like shockingly competent. This looks very good. I don't think you're gonna play a pure Fiendsmith deck, but as like an engine in like other decks, this seems very, very strong. It's bad? I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad. Or do you mean was that in regards to the trap card? There's no way you think the archetype is bad. Maybe you were referring to the trap card. But yeah. I think this is pretty good. I think this is pretty good support for... It's pretty good support for existing Light Fiend decks, is how I should put it. Like, whether you're going to play this with Life Twins or Musketeers or Fables or whatever, I don't know exactly yet. Maybe you just use this as a one-card Beatrice in, like, other decks, right? Like, that has to be... One card, make Beatrice has to be worth something, right? That can't be bad. That just can't be bad. Or Caesar, yeah, because it's Fiends. Yeah. Like, there has to be a way to make these cards work. There's no way they can't work. Right? OddZ Radio, thank you for the Prime. I appreciate you. Also, Deadly Operating System. Miso Tesu and Rolfus Rolf. Thank you guys for the Primes. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. That's pretty good. Nib protection. Oh yeah, like you can, if you have a deck that's weak to Nibiru, you can play these guys to make a you make Caesar before you normal summon. Wow, that's true. That's true. Nah, these cards are good. These cards are very good. I think these cards are very, very strong. Very nice. Good stuff. Nothing like, yeah. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know if I don't know if they are too strong or if I feel like they are just right, you know. I guess that remains to be seen, but interesting for sure. There's a high chance Musketeers will get support because it's a light themed set. I mean, they kind of already did. They kind of already did get support, so there you go. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the only thing we got from Infinite Forbidden so far. I don't think there was anything else. Yes, okay. I'm sure we're gonna get more in the upcoming days because the set is releasing soon-ish in the OCG. So at some point we're gonna see more and more of these like get revealed and to review them on stream. It's looking good so far. I mean, so far they're starting out pretty well here with the first archetype from the Infinite Forbidden. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more. We'll see how it goes.